So in this video, I want to talk about how to handle the returns from your customer as an eBay seller. I'm going to be explaining this under different circumstances because in every circumstances, the different rule will apply. So first of all, I'm going to explain under what circumstances you have to accept the return. The second one, under what circumstances you can refuse to accept the return from a customer. I also want to explain how to handle the return if you are shipping the product from your own inventory, or if you are simply drop shipping and you are using Amazon or some other drop shipping suppliers as well. So this is a very important topic. I'm going to be addressing everything that you need to know so you will know what to do once the customer will open the return. So first of all, let's talk about under what circumstances you have to accept the return from your customer and under what circumstances you can refuse to accept the return from your customer. So everything which is being sold on eBay is covered under eBay 30 days money back guarantee. So this is to give their customer satisfaction that anything that you're going to buy from eBay, you have an option to return that. This is not a policy from eBay. They need to offer this policy to their customer because this is a legal requirement in UK as well. So anything that you purchase online or you purchase offline, you have 30 days to return that item. Simply, you can say, I just don't like it, I don't need it, or there can be any problem with the item that you have purchased. This is covered under the consumer laws in the UK. So the platforms like eBay, Amazon, or any platform which is offering any kind of goods and services in the UK, they need to offer this money back guarantee. eBay call it a money back guarantee, some will call it free return, whatever. But the point which I'm trying to make that they are bound by law to offer this one. Any business. So if you are selling on eBay, you're selling on Amazon as a business seller, there is no way that you can refuse your customer to accept the return. You simply cannot refuse. You are bound by law as well, and you are also bound by the policy of those platforms. And those policies, as I said in a place, to respect the law, they have to offer this one. So if you are a business seller, you simply cannot refuse the return. Even though you may feel like that customer is lying to you, but by law, you do have to accept that return. Now, some sort of sales are not covered by money back guarantee, or they are not covered by consumer law as well. There are different types of rules will apply to those as well. So especially when it comes to digital products, it's a very much gray area. If the customer will open the product or if they start using the product, especially when the product is digital, then you can refuse that. But if the product is physical, the customer want to return that item, you do have to accept that, even though the customer have opened the packing, or they probably obviously maybe have used the item as well, but they're not going to say that they have used the item, and there is no way to prove that they have used the item. So in the cases of digital product, yes, you can refuse the return. And if you are a private seller on eBay and you are selling something like cards or something which can be like sold as scene type of sale, that is also not covered by eBay money back guarantee as well. So as a private seller, you have some sort of flexibility, but most of the time, I will say 99% of the item that you're gonna even sell as a private seller as well, you will have to accept the return, and eBay will force you to accept those return as well, because at the end of the day, it's those products and those types of sales are covered by the consumer laws. Now, when the customer want to return the item, I think it will be ideal that I will show you what kind of options they get on eBay, because that will define who will pay for the postage, like the postage which they are going to use to send the item back to you or send the item back to the supplier. How it gonna work when they need to send the item back to you, how much postage is going to cost, all that kind of stuff. I will explain that down the line, but let me show you the options first. So first of all, this is my eBay purchasing history. I bought this fancy dress right here, and if I simply click on more option, I have the choice to return this item. If I click on return this item, then I will come on this page right here. It says the listing has been removed for the policy violation. This is obviously the seller's problem, not my problem at the end of the day. If I want to return this item, I have a different options that I need to choose. So first one is ordered by mistake. The second one is arrived damage, don't like it, missing parts and pieces, change my mind, item is defective, and also received the wrong item, doesn't fit, found a better price, doesn't match the description or photos. Only two options out of these are something where the buyer is accepting it is their mistake because they probably ordered the item by mistake. That's the first one right here. And the second one is changed my mind. If the buyer will choose one of these two options, buyer will be the one who will be covering the postage to send the item back to you. But the rest of all the option, the buyer is putting, you can call it like somewhat blame on you. So you will be the one who have to cover the postage to get the item returned back to you. It doesn't matter you are a private seller or you are a business seller. So it completely going to depend what kind of reason they are giving to eBay to return the item back. And I can tell you most of the consumer who want to return the item, they are not going to choose one of these two options. Yes, there are some customers, they order something by mistake and they say, I have ordered something by mistake. But most of the customers, they're going to say it doesn't fit, especially when it comes to clothing or shoes, or something like it doesn't match the photos and description, or the item doesn't work, there are missing parts or pieces. You have to accept that return. As I explained, by law, you are bound to accept that return and eBay will force you to accept that return, and you need to provide a return label to your customer. Now, obviously, what is the best circumstances, how you can actually save your money, how you can minimize your loss when it comes to accepting that return, I'm going to be addressing those issues now. Now, when the customer will choose the option and the option is very likely to be something which will put the blame on you, eBay will give you a couple of options. Number one, if it's been more than 30 days, then eBay will give you an option to refuse that return. It will say decline this return. That option will only come if it's been more than 30 days. But other than that, you will have to accept the return. Now, once you will accept the return, you will have to confirm your return address and you will also have to provide a return label to your customer. You have to really analyze your circumstances right here. For me, I tell you the way I think about it and what I do once the customer will open the return. Obviously, you can do the same. So first of all, if my item that I have shipped to the customer cost less than £5, I don't provide them the return label. I just simply let customer keep that item and I give them a refund anyway. You have to think about it. If you will send them a return label, that might cost you about £3.50, £3.50, something like this. And if it's a very small, cheap item, it's not really worthy of your time. And also financially, it doesn't make any sense to get the item back anyway. And it's very likely once the item will come back, maybe it's not in a condition to resell it. Obviously, the item get treated rough in a postage. Customer might have used the item as well, but there is no way to prove the customer have used the item. They're going to deny that. You're going to go back and forth. It's just simply not worthy of your time. So if the item is very cheap, I just let customer keep that item. Now, in the case when the item is expensive, what I normally do, I try to negotiate with the customer. And most of the time I tell customer, okay, what if I give you 50% refund and you can keep the item? You can give them a partial refund as well and they can keep the item. You can communicate with your customer. And if the customer will say, okay, well, it might have this problem and that problem, but if I get a bit of discount, I am more than happy to keep the item. To be honest with you, 90% of the cases, they are solved when I try to communicate with the customer. And you have to be really polite. the mistake that most of the people will make, they will say, okay, well, there is nothing wrong with the item is fine. In the case, you have to keep in mind the customer is always right. You have to treat them like this, even though you may truly think they are not right and they are just, messing with you at the end of the day. But as a business, what I normally do, I dedicate my 5% of the total inventory cost. I keep in my mind that obviously in the business, the return can happen. And even if you go to a local shop, the local shop is probably at a very peaceful place, maybe in a small town in a Cumbria, you will see people shoplifting there as well. It's a very common for businesses to face these kind of problems at the end of the day. And as a businessman, obviously we need to deal with it. And I dedicate 5%, which to be honest is not that much, because eventually I don't get stuck on that return. You have to see the bigger picture. Overall, per month or per year or per quarter, how much revenue you are making, right? So if 5 minutes, if somebody done something wrong with you, you're not going to sort of destroy your mindset for the 5 minutes which they have took to make you feel bad. Obviously, there is more time in the day as well, right? So this is the way I think about it. This is the mindset I have. So once the customer will open the return, right? As I said, if it's less than £5, I will just simply let them keep the item. If the item is expensive, I try to offer them a partial refund. If not, I will provide them with a return label, which if it's a small parcel, you can just simply buy the return label from eBay, or you can buy a prepaid label from Royal Mail. You can buy it from every other company offer those label as well. And I will just simply send that label to the customer. Customer can use that and send the item back to you. Once you receive the item, now obviously you have a option to inspect the item. You can see if the item is okay. You can probably resell it. To be honest with you, as long as the customer is going to return the item back to you and the tracking will show that the item was delivered to you, there is no point with arguing the customer again. Like, okay, well, the condition of the item is different. Even though you will tell eBay the condition of item, your item is different, eBay is always going to take a customer side. So again, it's not really worthy of your time. You got the item back, try to sort of clean it up. If it's not, then this is the sort of loss you will have to accept as a business anyway. There is no point ever. It's simply, to be honest with you, it's just simply complete waste of your energy, complete waste of your mental health, and complete waste of your time to argue with the customer. So as soon as you got the item back, simply refund the customer and say, thank you so much for giving me this feedback. I will try to do my best like for the next time. You have to use these diplomatic kind of words as well. So this is the way, to be honest with you, I handle the return. Now, the circumstances can be different. How you're going to provide the label to the customer depending on if you are shipping your own item. This is the case once you're shipping your own item. But if you are working with a different supplier, now I'm going to explain how you're going to handle the return when it comes to working with the different suppliers. Now, for example, if you are drop shipping, in this case, let's talk about your drop shipping from Amazon, right? Once the customer will open the return, right? You will open the return with your supplier. You want to send the item back. Obviously, they will give you the shipping label. Once they will give you that shipping return label, you can take that label and send it to your customer. Your customer will send the item back to your supplier. You can see the tracking number. Once your supplier will receive the return back to them, they will give you refund, and then you can refund your customer. So with a drop shipping, this is the way you're going to handle the return. It also going to depend on what supplier you're using, what is their return policy. So before you use any drop shipping supplier, if their return policy is not clearly visible on a website, you should always ask them what is their return policy, and what if the customer want to return the item, what can I do as well. So it's little bit work you will have to do to really understand the supplier that you're using, what is their return policy at the end. Again, they're going to give you the return label. You send that return label to your customer will ship the item back to your supplier will refund you, and you can refund your customer. So this is the way the return is going to work once you're drop shipping.